Minneapolis, Turning Point, Phyllis Wheatley, the Urban League, the City Inc., and a few others who have represent over 275 years on total of good service to our community. When it appears that City Hall doesn't like those agencies and don't try to keep those institutions preserved, it seems like they're at odds with us. Whether they are or not, they can fix that, and those agencies are willing to fix that. That's why I say to Lewis, yes, Lewis, we need the jobs, but we also need our social service institutions to be funded and treated fairly so that together we can work. We are partners with Summit Academy OIC because I recognize that their value, and I see them as being a non-profit social service organization. So we're not at odds with each other. And I consider Lewis a learned, reasonable man that wants to do the right thing, and I know he's in partnership with these other. I just don't want that to be misconstrued. What we have to get to the table is the success on the ballpark was because we cooperated and collaborated. The success that will happen with the stimulus package, green money, city contracts is because we are all at the table and collaborating as equal partners. Not that I'm in charge because I get the money. You know, we know the mayor has political ambitions, and we want to support those. I'd rather have him governor than mayor, quite frankly. That's where but if that's what he wants to do, but we will be there to say, Mayor, you did not support our institutions, and by doing that, you are not interested in preserving our communities. So again, I applaud this. This is a conversation we need to repeat. I applaud Summit Academy OIC, but also I stand ready as a member of the City Inc., a longtime member of the Minneapolis Urban League, African American Family Services, Turning Point. We are collaborating. We're collaborating well beyond. You may see some very interesting things come out in the next 6 weeks about how we are already looking at ways in which we can collaborate on efficiencies in our infrastructure and other things, as well as demanding that we get our fair share of the services. Cultural competence matters. And we're the ones that have the real cultural competence because we're grounded in our culture and we don't hire 2 or 3 black people as some white agencies do and then say we're culturally competent. Thank you.
Bill English, thank you. Final comment, Louis King, Devin Miller, Mike Christensen.
Well, I'll take the first stab. I think, again, to Elder English's point, the collaboration has to be equal. We have to do our part in our community as well as holding the feet of the city, state, and public officials' feet to the fire. And so I think as long as we understand that and recognize that, and that we are at the table and we come to the table prepared, I will always say that wherever you see me, that we have to prepare. You can't just ask for something and not be prepared to receive it, because sometimes folks will give it to you just to see you fail. And so I don't want to see that in our community because it's happened too many times that we've asked for it, we've gotten it, we didn't do anything with it, then we want to complain for the rest of the years. So as long as we're doing our job and preparing our people behind closed doors, in front, alongside the door, that's great. But equally, once we are prepared, we should be able to boldly go in and demand our fair share of what this pie is.
Mike, and then Louis, final word.
Well, Elder English, who I always regard as a source of wisdom for the city, is wrong on one really important thing. Reverend English, I am not a learned man.
And he's not a preacher.
But I do appreciate very much what you're saying, and you're absolutely right. The collaboration and there are great examples of this. It isn't just the ballpark. It's Midtown Exchange. It's Riverside Hospital, Fairview. It's Children's Hospital, Knutson. It's the Convention Center. Great record at Convention Center with Morrison's help. Library build. On the major projects, we're nailing it. The harder question is, can we get the private sector to accept us in all parts of business that are going on in Minneapolis? And the answer is they don't have to. They can bid what they want to bid. They can bring what workforce they want to bring forward. So the city has to appeal to the private sector. We've been very lucky to have a business community that is open to that in the case of a lot of these major deals.
I was around on a lot of those projects. What Sharon Sales Belson told Mortensen when they got ready to do the first project, Convention Center, Mortensen, You want the convention center job, and they will tell you that. I know the people at Martinson.
Yeah.
They will tell you that you're going to have to bring a minority partner to the table.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
I
how,
remember that.
it's the same thing on Excel in St. Paul, and that built Thor into one of the top 50 construction companies in the country. Now, the dollar turns over in our community. Mike, here's the real deal. We African Americans contribute $3.2 billion to this economy, most of it in the metro area. $3.2 billion and pay over $500 million in taxes. That's just African Americans. Communities of color, over $6 billion and almost $750 million in taxes. We are not takers, we're givers. Now, given that, and given that most of that money is spent in the metro area, a hell of a lot of it in Minneapolis, there is no reason that you can't say to any contractor, as Sharon did, if you want to do city business, you're going to have to use minority partners on non-city business. And if they don't want to play, get the hell out of the city businesses, as Maynard Jackson did in Atlanta on the airport.
Mike, then Leonard. then Louis King.
Where's Thor Construction located? Where's Thor Construction located? That's the problem. My predecessor let Richard Copeland take that great company his and go across the border. That belongs in Minneapolis.
But he hired people from Minneapolis. Come on.
I know he has. I know he has.
The
But
man
we
likes to
want
tell
him.
I live in Plymouth. I tell him I sleep in Plymouth and live in Minneapolis.
Louis King,
It's a moot point.
final word. Thank you.
Anytime it's time to go to battle, I always call Bill, okay? Because Mr. English brings it. And the healthy tension that exists between us is that exists between comrades who trust each other and respect each other. My issue around the social service community and mindset is that I didn't know what a nonprofit was until I came to Minneapolis. And too often people try to define our community in terms of need. There are a lot of people making money off of our needs. They make a ton of money, and yet we have the current conditions. So and the thing that I said that I don't want lost in my statement is, while we're a training organization, we depend upon our social service partners who meets people's needs for those who are trying to help themselves. So it is a complementary angle, but I refuse to have our community defined simply in terms of nonprofits and social service and deficits. And I think that we have allowed ourselves to slip in that direction, and we've taken our eye off the ball in some instances, and because of that, we missed some opportunities. Now, and Mr. English consistently brings that to my attention, and it keeps me honest. At the same time, though, we're both at the tip of the sword in furthering the economic agenda, because the more that we do the things that he talked about in terms of working and paying taxes. I'll just say this. If a family can earn their own money, then they pay for their children to go to after-school programs. They pay their own rent. They buy their own food. And they get the dignity of taking care of themselves. Many people need help to get to that spot. But at the end of the day, we have to believe that everybody has some capacity, and we want to help them get to the maximum.
That's it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. All right, good program. Thanks to our sponsors. Our sponsors include the UCare Minnesota organization and Hennepin County Medical Center. We thank them for their support. We thank you for listening. Join us again next week for Conversations with Al McFarlane.